Okay, so today I'm gonna talk about my problems with the JJK manga. Basically, like everything. I mean, Shibuya, I don't have any complaints with, but like everything after that, the problems that I have with it. So obviously, I will be going into manga spoilers. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna be talking about the manga, not the anime. So yeah. Okay. So okay, right after Shibuya, or right going right into calling games, right? Um, there's a lot of like just there were too many unanswered questions, right? Like we see Kenjaku like make the whole calling games thing at the end of Shibuya, and it's like, how does he do that? And then like we don't like, and then like even just the ending of that like little like part, like he just like what? Okay, he makes a calling game, then he just leaves. You know, like that's not particularly explained very well. Like I was very confused reading that, right? But okay, so the calling games started. You know, he makes the calling games. I mean, we don't we you know, I mean, yes, the rules, you know, end up getting explained to us a bit later, but like it's all like for a story that like where like a lot of the powers, like the power system and like how this works, like it is like, you know, usually up until that point explained pretty thoroughly and whatnot. Like for a character to do something like so like kind of like crazy, you know, like so crazy out of the ordinary, and for Gege to not explain that, it is like it's just it really does not make for that great of a reading experience, you know. And what made and the other thing about the calling games as a whole versus like Shibuya was that Shibuya we got like character moment, like we got moments for like almost every character, right? Like, you know, like almost every character, you know, that we knew about at that time, like got a moment, right? Besides a couple of the Kyoto students and like, you know, like I guess Yuta, you know, or like Yuki. But everyone else got like some moment or another, right? Maybe it wasn't the biggest moment, maybe it didn't mean the biggest thing for their characters, like for Mei Mei, it wasn't like, it was just a fight, right? But still, it was something, you know, and it made, and it just like, it felt like everyone, all those characters were involved, and it was this big event, right? And now with calling games, like you got like what? I mean, obviously you get stuff with like, you know, I was gonna say you get stuff with Yuji, but like you really don't get much. You really just do not get much. Like you had, okay, the Maki thing was great, you know, Maki, you know, kind of becomes Toji, right? Like kind of you know, almost like evolves, you know, to this like higher being, and that thing was cool. But like then we have this fight with or this little tidbit with the current version of Noritoshi Kamo, and like how Kenjaku has taken over the Kamo clan or whatever. Okay, so I mean that was the beginning of it, and we think, okay, so Noritoshi Kamo is gonna, Gege's gonna kind of, you know, delve into Noritoshi Kamo's character, or Noritoshi Kamo's gonna get like this kind of moment, right? Because he didn't get really anything in Shibuya. But this battle that Noritoshi Kamo is quote unquote involved in, it was basically just like Maki, the sumo wrestler guy, and like the katana like sword guy, the demon slayer guy, right? It was just those three versus Naoya, right? It really like, what did Kamo have to do? And we forget about him, right? Like and then nothing happens with Kamo. We kind of just forget about him. We never see him again. I don't think we've even seen him in the latest few chapters where like, you know, we see like kind of the group of Jujutsu sorcerers, you know, either like planning or like kind of watching the Gojo Sukuna fight. We don't see Kamo there either. And yes, Kamo in theory was like injured or something maybe in the Naoya fight. I don't remember, but like even then, like it's just nothing. Like for what, right? For what? Okay, and then we have the Hakari stuff. And yes, we do see like Yuji and Megumi here, but like they don't really like. I mean, yes, Megumi has like one fight against like I think it was Kirara or something like that. Or just the third year with the star constellation technique. You know, that was something, but like for our two like for the two most important characters in the story, right? Like that really that wasn't anything, right? Yuji and Megumi. Okay, but you know, fair enough. It's an introduction to Hakari, right? And then we kind of get the Hakari fight, right? I have a particular opinion on Hakari as a character and like his powers in general. I know a lot of people do like Hakari, and I will say he's kind of a fun character. I will say I do see where those other people who are fans of Hakari are coming from, but my problem is for, you know, this for this world where, you know, all these battles and whatnot are super intense and they're supposed to really matter and whatnot, and you know there's skill differences between sorcerers and curses and they're, you know, and that's supposed to matter, right? That's their levels of skill are supposed to matter. Kari's technique with like just randomness, right? I mean, it's not random. It's like the lottery, right? It's gotcha. It's just like that makes Hakari's like wins, right? That makes Hakari's, you know, fight feel cheap, right? Because it's like, oh well, of course he won, because of course he landed the jackpot, right? Of course he did. Instead of like this actual cool moment where, okay, well, to be fair, like the fight against Kashimo was very close and like he did outsmart Kashimo, but like still, you know, like he couldn't have done it without landing the jackpot, right? Like it just makes everything feel like cheap, you know, like and then like, you know, whether this is true or not, it's a big contention, but like, you know, Yuta says, oh, when Hakari's on a roll, he's stronger than me. And so like we're supposed to just think, oh, because Hakari's lucky, right? That's just an aspect of his character, like, you know, like because he's lucky, he's stronger than Yuta, potentially, right? Like that's like really, like really, are we serious? You know? Uh, okay. Higuruma. That part was fine. I mean, okay, yes, there's a bit with Yuji there, but like it doesn't really do anything for his character. Yes, he kind of confront, and they kind of go into the whole, you know, what happened within Shibuya and you know, whether he is responsible for all the deaths of you know, all the deaths caused by Sukuna, right? But that doesn't really do anything for his character, right? And it wasn't particularly a cool fight, right? Like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, it's just like literally base Yuji no curse energy versus this guy with like a mallet, and he's not, you know, that's just really, you know, I don't know. People like Higuruma. He's an interesting character, I'll say that, but I mean, just within like how he was used in the story and how like his fight went down, his fight with Yuji went down, like it was just like whatever, you know, like I don't know. You know, nothing crazy. Like not to say that every arc has to have something crazy happen, but like, you know, it didn't mean Yuji became stronger. It didn't mean anything. It like Yuji already was like kind of dealing with, you know, the aftermath of Shibuya prior anyways. So like it's not, you know, it was what it like. It didn't do anything for his character. And then, okay, the Megami fight with Reggie. I'll be honest, I remember that fight just being very like drawn out, you know. It was kind of fun and interesting, but again, it didn't really do anything for Megami's character, you know. It was just a fight for the sake of a fight, really. Like, it didn't need to drag that long, right? Reggie is not, you know, on. I mean, yes, okay. The point was that they would get the whole purpose of the fights was so Yuji and Megami could gather points so that they could change the rules or whatever. But like, at least with the Higuruma thing, it's like Higuruma kind of like joins the squad, joins the good guys. With Reggie, it's just, I mean, here's the points. That's it, right? Like, did we need to spend that much time on it, right? You know, like, and then like, I suppose it gave us an interesting like perspective on like what some people and what, you know, some of the people in the Culling Games are doing, right? But again, it's just, did we really need it for it to stretch that long, right? Was that really so interesting? I don't know. Then we have obviously the Ishigori, Uro, and Yuta fight. Now that was great because like the fight itself was really cool. You know, it didn't drag on particularly or anything. You know, it really you know showed Yuta's power, right? I mean it's, I think it was like, I mean, basically the first real fight that we've seen with Yuta, like in like, you know, the present day, right? But like past like the events of JJK 0, because, you know, like the fight with Yuji is, you know, he's not going all out. But like, anyways, I like this part. It was good, you know. And then at the end we have this whole like conversation between well, actually, one more thing. You know, Uro says something about like Yuta being a descendant of this clan or whatever, which is, I think which was just interesting, maybe tidbit or something about his character, you know, in his past. And then, you know, Yuta and Ryu Ishigori have kind of this conversation at the end of the battle, and it's insightful for not just Yuta himself, but just for the idea of strong sorcerers and the growth of sorcerers, right? And I think that was interesting, right? And again, the fight was great, right? It didn't drag on for too long, and it was actually interesting, and it was cool. Now, okay, basically now we get into the fight between Yuki, the fight between Yuki Chozo and then Kenjaku. I don't know. It's a bit disappointing because you would have liked to see more from Yuki, right? Considering we hadn't seen anything of her basically at all up until now, up until this little section, this fight. But I do understand that, you know, that after reading this, you know, I mean, Gege didn't necessarily, Gege planned for Yuki to not necessarily be such a huge and important like character. She would kind of pop up, kind of serve her purpose, and then be over, and then, you know, it would be over. But here's the problem: that fight did not do anything for anyone, right? Because, I mean, besides Kenjaku, I mean, it didn't do anything to progress the story. So, like, the only thing that, you know, was gained for the good guys, right, was you know, just what, the knowledge that Kenjaku is strong and that he has an open barrier domain, right? That's it, you know. He kind of felt like Yuki was wasted, but I do understand that, like, the purpose of the fight was okay, was that Kenjaku wanted Tengen, right? Wanted Tengen for this merger thing that they kind of go into, which is weird, but honestly, it works with Kenjaku's character. It's consistent, but I do understand what kind of the purpose of this fight was, which was for Kenjaku, you know, to get to Tengen for the merger, and then, you know, obviously he beats both Yuki and Chozo at the same time, really displaying Kenjaku's strength, right? Because up until this point, we really didn't know how strong Kenjaku was. I mean, we see Kenjaku at the end of Shibuya, like, freeze. No, that wasn't even Kenjaku. That was that other girl or whatever. But like, we barely really see Kenjaku fight at the end of Shibuya. You know, like, he doesn't really do anything besides just make the culling games, right? So this is the first time we really see him in action, and we, you know, it proves to us, like, oh, he's the real deal, right? With the open barrier domain and, like, just, you know, who he beat, right? But I don't know. Okay, this part really isn't bad by any means. It's perfectly fine. It's just maybe a bit disappointing for, like, you know, for just the fact that just that's all we see of Yuki. That's it. You know? And I know, like, you know, there's other characters that kind of talk about the whole curse energy within humans thing, but I would have liked to see more of, like, kind of Yuki at least, like, talking about, like, her research or whatever into you know, the idea of getting rid of curse energy as a whole and whatnot, because that was her thing, right? Because that's what she researched, and that was this interesting idea that maybe the end game of JJK, the end game of the story, would be, you know, curse energy is wiped out from the world, right? So, you know, and then we had you know, Maki turn into basically like Toji, right? Which is, like, you know, exactly kind of like the type of person that Yuki wanted to, like, research and whatnot, and we never really got anything on that, so it was kind of disappointing. But this fight served a purpose, right? I see that, and it made sense. There weren't really too many problems. It was a cool fight, you know, not my favorite by any means, but it was a okay, cool fight. Now, another thing I want to touch on with that reminds me, with the fight with Maki and the cursed spirit Naoya, like, I'm be honest, I still don't really know, like, what happened at the end with Maki. Like, I'm kind of coming to understand that, like, she just, like, became more, like, free or whatever, and she was able to, like, see, you know, not just, like, you know, she was able to, like, kind of, like, free her vision, you know, and, like her herself feel free, and then, like, kind of her, you know, she's no longer tunnel vision, and she can kind of, like, really take everything in, which, like, mentality wise, I suppose it's good, but, like, that doesn't, like, in a story like JJK, like, and okay, like mentality, they do touch on how, yes, it is important for like, you know, growth, but like, I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't like, either it wasn't explained well, or just a concept for like how that change or shift in mentality for Maki like really transitions to like, you know, like a boost in power. I don't really see it, right? Like I don't see it. They never really, you know, they're like, by the end of that fight they say, oh, now she's on par with Toji, but that's not that, we never really explored that as a theme for Toji, you know. That doesn't, we don't you know, see that and be like, oh, now she's like Toji, you know. Like we wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't know that without like Yege literally, you know, writing it out for us. Yeah, so that's where we are, right? Okay, well, okay, and then now, so most recently, okay, the US military thing. I get that it wasn't supposed to be a big thing, you know. It's just a lot of us fans just ended up mistaking it for something that was going to be like a big thing. It's just like, I don't know. You kind of like Gege kind of like set it up as this like kind of cliffhanger type, like you know, big shock, right? Big shock, like wow factor, and then for it to like really just like be forgotten about, and like, or just for it to like not hold any meaning at all, like literally zero meaning. We really like did not need that at all, you know. I mean, unless maybe it's gonna play a part in the future, which I doubt. Kind of weird if it like, you know, they introduce the idea like literally, and we, you know, we see that, you know, oh, they're the military is, you know, coming into Japan and whatnot, and then we like see nothing about that, and then we see them out of nowhere suddenly again. That'd be kind of weird, you know. And I was never really a big fan of that idea anyways, because like I don't really want to see like sorcerers versus like normal dudes, you know. Like that's kind of just lame anyways. But so that was weird. Okay, and then after that we had the Megumi turning or Sukuna taking control of Megumi's body. I think that was a very cool, like hype, like crazy twist moment. You know, we finally see, not exactly why Sukuna, no, not exactly why Sukuna was interested in Megumi, but like one part of why, you know, he was interested in Megumi, and why he made that Enchained thing with Yuji way back, you know, when he revived Yuji, right? We see that payoff, and that feels great, and it was just a really huge twist, and it was a big moment. It was cool, right? It was cool. It's just, I don't know, like what comes after that, like I don't particularly like, because after that, then you have the Yorozu fight, which I don't know. Okay. First of all, I wasn't a big fan of like Sukuna being the one to conquer like the entire 10 Shadows technique. I thought like it would have been much cooler if like Megumi was actually the one to conquer it, you know, because like I suppose, because now then with Sukuna being the one to conquer like the entire technique, now it's like, oh well, it was never really possible to like conquer the 10 Shadows technique just, you know, on your own without other techniques, you know, without already having like another strong technique or something, right? Multiple maybe even, right, with Sukuna. So like that's just kind of a lame idea, right? And then also like the whole like thing with like, oh, you know, with like, you know, the idea of Megumi's potential, and like, oh, no other 10 Shadows use her as conquered Maharaga. But like, you know, I thought it was building to this idea that Megumi would be like stronger than the past Ten Shadow, you know, users, and in the way of finally being the first one to actually, you know, conquer Maharaga. But you know, they kind of like just cheaped out on it, I feel. And so like, oh, Sukuna got it for him. So like the next time we actually do see Megumi, it'll be like thanks to Sukuna, you know, like not really like really, you know, a little bit disappointing, but I guess that's just what they're going for. And then yeah, the Yorozu fight. Yorozu is just a weird character, you know, like that. I like. I suppose she served a bit of purpose for like I don't know, something about Sukuna, like with love and whatnot, which is weird. I wish they would have like kind of explained that better. Like Gege would have explained that better, but I don't know. I suppose we'll just see the payoff later. It was just kind of weird, and like there was just not much said about it. But we see it kind of pop up, you know, later on when Gojo returns. So it's like, what? But also like, again, yes, the purpose of the Yorozu fight was so, you know, Sukuna could plunge Megumi's soul further down, right? But you know, I always thought a really big part of Megumi's character and this Culling Games part was you know, this was to save his sister, right? And then like out of nowhere we just kind of basically quickly jumped to the Yorozu, you know, to Yorozu just dying, right? Because we knew she was gonna die, right? We knew it, right? Yorozu did not have a chance, right? And like, yes, we see once Yorozu dies, we see Megumi, you know, really like crying or something, but like we don't really like I wish like Gege like gave us like a few pages of like of just Megumi's thoughts, right? And like or something at the very least. Just the way that fight went down, and like the way that just the whole interaction between the characters went down, it was just like, it felt really like just like, oh, okay, well, she's dead now, whatever, I guess, you know, like we're not even gonna really focus on Megumi too much, you know, we're not gonna focus on like what this means too much. It's just, oh, okay, this is good for Sukuna, I guess. That's it, you know. Okay, and then after that, Return of Gojo. I liked the Gojo return chapter. That was hype. That was real hype. It's just after that, I would have loved to like, okay, we don't need to have all the nitty-gritty like character like interaction moments, you know, but like you could have like some. Maybe like Gege is gonna like do some flashbacks to that like 1 month gap later on in some future chapters, but like it's just why would you do that? Like why would you skip forward? Why would you just do it in chronological order, you know, like in a way that makes sense, right? In a way that makes the Gojo unsealing feel like more of a proper payoff, right? Like because this now with the Sukuna Gojo fight being just out of nowhere right now, it just, the payoff doesn't seem it, like it's kind of hype because you want to see who wins, and it's this big, you know, anticipated fight, but like it kind of disappoints with like just how it was set up and how it feels, because it was set up, right? I also would have liked if they kind of explained, they actually, or Gojo himself did explain like, well, how did he actually come back? Because like Hijaku himself and like the angel and whatnot, and like, or like Takuba explained that like, well, Gojo was supposed to be erased from existence, yet how is he here? Huh? Like, what's going on, right? So like, I mean, I guess that the idea is that like, oh yeah, Gojo's different, right? Like he's just He's just like that, which is, I guess, I mean, that's always been the idea with Gojo, but like I kind of want an explanation still, you know? Like, I don't want just like trust me. Oh, he's built it. Like yes, we know he's built different, but like, you know, I still want an explanation, right? Even if the explanation is still kind of like bullshit and still kind of just boils down to, oh yeah, he's built different. Like, still would have been cool to have some sort of explanation. Yet we don't have that. And then we just suddenly jump to the Sukuna fight, and then like, and the big thing is like, for this big fight that has so much stakes, right? Like, Gege is really setting it up like Gojo's gonna lose, right? And then the other characters are doing absolutely jack squat. They're doing nothing, right? Which is like the weird part, because like Kenjaku's out there killing all the other sorcerers in the culling games or whatever, right? Which I think is which is a pretty big deal, right? And you know, this Gojo Sukuna is the most important fight ever, right? It's the most important fight, and like the other sorcerers are just watching. Like, yeah, they can't exactly help Gojo, and they would want to watch, right? But like, they're not taking the chance to take care of other things. Like, yes, okay, the three heavy hitters, Hakari, Yuta, and Maki, maybe they're holding out just in case. They're saving their energy just in case Gojo loses, and I guess they go in and jump Sukuna. But like, they're just watching. They're not like waiting. They're just watching from like the TV screens. They're not like, as far as I can tell, like they're not on location, kind of like waiting. Like ready to like really like come at Sukuna right as like Gojo loses or whatever, right? Like, I feel like that's what they should be doing if that's if that's the purpose for them, right? But then like, if that's the purpose for them, then like, why aren't the other characters fighting like Kenjaku or whatever, right? And it's just like, the whole idea with Gojo versus Sukuna was always gonna have a problem, because like, if Gojo loses, okay, then what's the point of unsealing Gojo? Well, it's just, then like we're back to square one. Do you think Gojo losing is really gonna weaken Sukuna that much that like the other characters are gonna actually have a realistic shot at beating Sukuna? Not really, right? But then if Gojo wins against Sukuna, then like, well, that's it. Gojo beats everyone. That's it. We win, right? That's the end of the story. And so it was always gonna have kind of a problem, but like, and to be fair, it's most likely that Gojo's going to lose, right? But I guess the hope now is that like Gojo will lose, and then it'll be like, but like he'll still like have achieved like maybe like separating Sukuna and Megumi or something. I don't know, because like it has to mean something, right? For a character like that to die, to lose, it has to like mean something like narratively, kind of like mean something like for his character, right? For the importance of his character, right? And what his character represents in the story, and it has to mean something for the actual plot, right? And like, because if he doesn't do anything important like that, then like literally what was the point, right? It doesn't really change it. It's like, we unsealed Gojo just so he could lose to Sukuna, and Sukuna still has control of Megumi, and he's still doing Sukuna things. Cool. I guess the good guys just lose, right? Like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's just certain things that should feel more important. Should feel more important. Don't feel as important as they should feel, because of just like weird decisions. And I forgot to touch on this about the entire culling games. Like, again, we saw what we had our Maki moment, we had a Yuki moment, we had Yuta, we had Hakari. We really didn't have, okay, Megumi kind of, maybe, because I mean it's just an interesting development for his character, but usually we really didn't have anything. And that's just kind of it, you know, which is like, I don't know, you know, we had the tease with Miwa or something, and we thought that was gonna lead to something, but no, you know, like Panda just like literally existed, was there just to get his ass beat. That's it, like no other purpose at all. That it's just like I don't know. I don't know what the idea is, you know? I don't see the vision for what's actually going to happen in the future of the story. And it's just everything kind of leading up to this has just been underwhelming, and it's just you know, like I can only really be excited right now because of the fact that it's Gojo versus Sukuna, and purely like that, like purely just that, right? Not for no other reason besides just the wow factor, besides just like, you know, it's like the feeling of just like of like, you know, putting on a movie and then just skipping to like the final fight. Like it's like, yeah, it's cool because it's the final fight, but like, you know, with like, you know, the strongest characters or whatever, but like, you know, everything leading up to it, it's just kind of, if it's whatever, then that kind of like, then that's just disappointing. It sucks, you know? And again, Shibuya, to be fair, Shibuya was like so great that like obviously you can't really like top it, you know, you can't even match it really, you know. You can hope to just make something that's like, that's, you know, still just good, not necessarily as good, because it you know, Shibuya was special, right? You can't recreate that, but I don't know. It's just like there's a lot of unanswered questions still, and like we're just moving forward with the story. I guess we're just moving forward with this Sukuna fight. You know, we're just moving forward with all this and that, right? We thought, you know, after the unsealment of Gojo, things were kind of going to slow down because, you know, he kind of gave that like that 1 month, you know, oh, I'll fight you in a month thing. So it was okay, maybe things are going to slow down for now. We're going to have these smaller character moments, character interactions. We're going to see certain like payoffs kind of be addressed, maybe like Toto or Nobara, you know, like things like that. Like, but we didn't get that, and so it's just like, okay, I guess I guess we're just jumping into it, you know, and that's that, right? There's still like, I feel like just too many questions about Kenjaku and what he's doing, like with the whole merger idea plot, right? And then you have Yuji's backstory or something. Like, I don't know. Again, Miwa and like Momo or whatever. Just other side characters that just kind of are just there and not really doing much. You know? Like, it's I don't know. Because, okay, again, I do understand that, like, I do see how, like, yes, the characters would want to watch this crazy fight between Gojo and Sukuna, but like, they're really just doing nothing but just watching. Like, they're not doing anything else in the meantime, like anything else productive, just watching, you know? And they'll just end up just watching Gojo die. Like, that's just that? Really? Like, I don't know. It's hard because like the whole situation, I think, is a hard. Gege's kind of written himself into a corner, I feel, and it's hard to kind of like to really make the most of the situation. But like, I don't know. I feel like he still could have like done things to just make it more interesting, you know, just to make the whole thing better. But he didn't, and he made things worse. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just disappointing, right? It's just disappointing. I don't know. It's like, you know, the culling games, like, I guess, like, the main, you know, I guess the culling games are kind of just over now, right? Like, the whole, that arc, right? But, like, the culling games felt like they should have, like, been long. It should have lasted longer. I don't know. It felt like it's something that was supposed to last longer or something like that, or it was... I mean, part of the problem with the idea of culling games just, again, stems from just the confusion and just the lack of information about, like, its purpose, how it works, the whole, like, raising the level of cursed energy, golden age, you know, again, merger thing. Like, we just don't know enough about that. So it feels like not meaningless, but like it just, I just don't feel, it doesn't, like, it feels out of place. I don't feel its importance. I don't feel like it's just, it's not really interesting, you know? It's just, you know, like, all the things in Shibuya, it was built around this you know, the sealment of Gojo, right? And whatnot. And now this is, and that was very clear and very, you know, very straightforward and explained, right? And now this is all like just, this culling games is just built around this merger thing, and like how it works, why does it, how is, like, with the binding vows, with the past sources, binding vows, with making the culling games even a thing, and like how does it, how is someone able to do something so on such a big, massive scale? Like, what the hell is going on, right? Like, this is crazy. Like, it's crazy. It doesn't, like, I don't just like I know just explaining things for like an entire chapter would be bad, right? Like, just exposition, just that would be bad. But like, I don't know, I feel like we need at least something. Like, we need to actually address things. Like, it's not like we can't just ignore them, right? You know, because I think that if we do just ignore it, and then we ended up kind of thinking, oh well, okay, that's just how things work. We're just supposed to think that, like, okay, that's how things are. That's also supposed to work, I guess. And like, I feel like that cheapens the whole idea of the power system and the whole idea of like, of just, you know, again, the techniques and just the way the power system works. It just kind of cheapens that idea, right? And the importance of certain aspects of the power system and rules, and again, how it works in the interactions. It just cheapens all of that. But I still do like JJK. You know, I'm still hype, but it just, knowing that it could have been better, I think. Like, it's just disappointed. It's just disappointed me, you know, kind of, you know, recently up until this point. And I thought this Gojo unsealment would really, you know, kind of turn things around for the better, right after, you know, kind of after culling games. But like, but with the time skip and all, and how things are playing out, like, it really, it didn't, you know, really turn things around for the better, to me at least. So it's just, again, just disappointing. But I am still hype, you know, I am still gonna keep reading, you know, but it's, yeah, again, disappointing.